Oh, we good to go? Okay. So anyway, hey, listen, we are in the book, and we're taking a look at page 71. So if you guys will turn there real quick, we're talking about paraphrasing strategies. Can anybody tell me what are 3 different ways that you can take outside information and put it in your paper? What are they?
First of all, you can use the quotation.
Good. So I can quote. And what's a quotation?
The mark.
But the words themselves, how do you describe a quote?
The same, exactly. 100%.
Exactly the same words. Yeah, okay, good. What else?
Paraphrasing.
Paraphrasing, which we're talking about right now.
Change the word.
Yes. So when I paraphrase, I restate what the other person said a different way. And then there's one other way.
Side quotation.
Yes. If I can quote, I can take an exact phrase or word or even sentence.
About quote can be to
Summarize.
Yes. Good. Summarize. Summarize. So, listen. What a lot of people don't realize, all 3 of these require you to use, to cite whoever you took it from. Some people think, oh, for sure everybody knows a quote, right? If you take someone else's words exactly and stick them in your paper, well, you need to cite it, and we all know that. But what a lot of people don't realize, even when you read something and you think, oh, that's a really great point, I'm going to use it in my paper, even when you take their ideas, if they're unique ideas or something that someone else said and you're just restating it in a different way, you still need to cite it. Matter of fact, not only do you need to cite it, you want to cite it. Why? A couple reasons. You want to cite it because it gives you credibility. If you take your information from a credible source, right, then it actually gives your essay, your paper credibility when you tell the person reading your paper where you got the information. Not only that, it also allows the person reading it, if they're doing their own research, it allows them to go and figure out where they can find more information. So it's really useful from an academic standpoint and required. If you don't cite this, if you don't cite this, if you don't cite this, you're plagiarizing. And you can be in a lot of deep doo-doo. Matter of fact, they warned us, and we had to sign a statement before I started my master's program. If you get caught plagiarizing, you'll be kicked out of the program. Of course, you'll fail the course, and probably you won't be able to get into another university anywhere else. Because they're not going to reference you. Matter of fact, they're going to tell the other university that you're a plagiarizer, you're a cheater. Okay, this is a big frickin' deal in America. It's also a big deal if you plan on being a writer of any kind. There was a story in NPR, on NPR, the radio station, about a famous historian who wrote a lot of books, fictional history books. So he would take the facts, but then he'd create a novel. And he got caught stealing information from other historians and putting it in his books as if it was his own. He was completely discredited. I mean, he was like a New York Times bestseller. And just because he was lazy and he did not cite his information, somebody finally caught him just stealing information from other people and not giving credit to the other person. And he completely lost his reputation. Probably his livelihood, because they make money off those books, right? So this is a big deal if you care about your reputation, right? Especially if you're going to be operating in academic circles. Summarize. Same thing. Can somebody tell me basically what's the difference between a paraphrase and a summary? What's the difference?
Paraphrasing, you change the word to your own words.
Sure.
To summarize, you just take the main ideas for it.
Yeah. And which one of these is probably closer to a quote?
Paraphrase.
Summarize.
Paraphrase. You said it perfectly. Okay, and I'm not trying to trick anyone here, but paraphrasing is restating the quote, and it's generally, it can be, you're going to change the structure. We're going to talk about how to do that, but it's going to be closer to a quote because you're taking a sentence and just restating it a different way.
When should we paraphrase?
Man, listen, here's my advice. I think probably 80% of the time you should paraphrase. Maybe even 90% of the time you should paraphrase. And here's why.
Right.
Because when you do research and you're a professor, whoever's grading your paper, they don't want you to steal. Even if you put it in quotes and cite it, it's supposed to be your paper and it's supposed to be your unique analysis of someone else's work. So if you take too many quotes, professors don't like that because it just, you're leaning too hard on someone else's thoughts. So what they like and what I like is paraphrase. See, when you paraphrase, it proves that you can read something someone else said, and then you can glean the important information and restate it in your own words, and yet give credit to that source. So this is preferred. But occasionally, occasionally an expert will say something so well, so beautifully, that you want to take the direct quote. The trick is putting it in your paper in a way that it runs smoothly and it makes a really good point to use it. You see what I'm saying? But I would stick to paraphrasing in general, and that's why we're concentrating on that. Summarizing is really useful when you want to read, you want to get some information from like a survey or a study, and you just want to take their main points that they made, or even from a paper. Maybe you have to read a short article and then summarize the main points, and you want to use that study in your paper somehow. Well, then that's a great opportunity to summarize like an entire article, maybe condense it into a paragraph, or just the main points. So anyway, everybody okay? I think you guys understand the difference here. Today I want to talk about paraphrasing strategies. And in our book, they essentially give us 3 different strategies. And listen, you're going to have a nice paraphrase if you use all 3. So the first one is use different word forms. What do I mean by that?
Change the words from the adjective, from the noun to adjective.
Yeah. So the same word that they use in their sentence, okay? Let's just change the form of it, and that's going to make it. What that's going to do, it's going to trigger this. See, if I change something that's being used as an adjective to a noun, now I got to figure out how to put it in the sentence as a subject or an object, right? So when you do this, it actually forces you in a lot of situations to do this. And we'll look at some examples. And of course, you guys know what synonyms are, right? What's a synonym?
The same meaning.
Yeah, it's a word that means the same thing. What do I mean by changing the sentence structure? Can you give me a real example of what I mean by that? Okay, yeah, I mean, that's the right idea, but there's 4 kinds of sentences.
Yeah.
Can somebody tell me what are they?
No.
Simple.
Good. So we have a simple sentence. What else?
Complex.
Good. We have a compound sentence, and
Complex.
we have a complex sentence. And then there's one more, which is a combination.
Compound and complex.
Good. You have a compound complex. And you guys, of course, this is the easiest, right? It's just a subject plus a verb plus an object traditionally. A compound, and can I just call this an independent clause?
Mm-hmm.
So a compound sentence is just 2 of these connected, right? It's an independent clause, and there's different ways to connect it, but let's just say we're going to go comma, put an and here, right? A coordinating conjunction, and then another independent clause. So that's one way you can do it, okay? And it's the most common way. Just make sure when this is a coordinating conjunction, you have a comma here. If you want to use a logical connector like however, if you want to connect them, yeah, you with me? Just do that. Okay? Complex sentence, what's a complex sentence? Go ahead, Lek.
The sentence have a subordinating conjunction put in the main clause.
Adjective clause.
Yeah, I think you're saying the same thing. There's a subordinate clause or a dependent clause, or we call them adverb, adjective, or noun clauses. There's lots of names for them, but can I just call it a dependent clause? Connected to an independent clause. Okay, and if it comes first, is there a comma or no comma?
No comma.
No, a comma.
Comma.
Yeah.
So if my dependent clause comes first, I need a comma here. Okay? If my independent clause comes second, no comma. Now if I switch it around, comma or no comma?
No comma.
Normally no comma. When I'm talking about adverb clauses, the only time that an adverb clause gets a comma, always, is when it's a contrast adverb clause. What are some words that show contrast? What can I throw in there? Do you remember?
No.
For a starter word for an adverb clause of contrast.
Which,
No? Those are adjective clauses.
Question.
Adverb clause, like while.
No, question mark.
Yep. They show a contrast. While. Whereas. Okay? Those always get commas. Those are just some simple rules that will help you. Compound complex is just when you combine a compound and then you throw a dependent clause in there to create a compound complex. Now listen, if you understand this, then paraphrasing is going to be easy for you. Okay? So if you know enough words, right? If I know 2 or 3 words for the same word, I can do this easily. If I know my parts of speech, my 8 parts of speech. By the way, what are they?
What is that?
What are the 8 parts of speech?
Give the example.
Noun,
Pronoun.
verb,
Adjective.
pronoun,
And verb.
adjective, good,
And verb.
adverb, preposition, good,
Conjunction.
conjunctions, good. And one last one it's used, but it is a part of speech, but not
Oops.
interjection. Yeah. All right, so listen, the cool thing about English, these are the building blocks. And really paraphrasing is the ultimate test of whether or not you know English or not. Because it requires you to use 3 skills that are critical. Okay? Do you know your 8 parts of speech? And do you know how each part is used in a sentence? You got to be able to do that to paraphrase. Secondly, do you know enough words to replace a word with another word? If you don't, we have a tool called a thesaurus. Have you guys heard of a thesaurus? A thesaurus is a special little, it's like a dictionary, but it's called a thesaurus. And it has some words in the dictionary where it gives you the antonyms, opposite meaning, and the synonym, similar meanings. But you can actually buy a little thesaurus at a bookstore, and they're fantastic because you can look a word up, and then it'll give you another 10 words that mean the same thing, or that mean the opposite. And that can really help you learn enough words to be able to do this well. Okay? Also, if you use Microsoft Word or Apple, usually if you highlight the word and right-click on it, for sure with Word, I'm not an Apple guy, it'll look it up in a dictionary or a thesaurus, and it'll give you antonyms and synonyms, just like that. Okay? And then you got to change the structure. Okay? And you got to understand how to build a sentence. By the way, did you know on the TOEFL test, the IELTS test, a huge part of your grade on the grammar section or the writing section is whether or not you can use a variety of all 4 kinds of sentences accurately and in a nice way in your writing. So this is really important. All right. Let's take a look at the example sentence that they give in the book. Okay? And let's see, how do we read this?
The presence of other people may lead each person to interpret the situation as less serious than he would if alone.
Cool. Now, let's take a look at significant words. Okay, that maybe let me ask you, are there any words in here like nouns, adjectives, adverbs, okay, that you think maybe we could change the word form?
The present is the noun.
Yeah, this is a noun, you're right. So could maybe, what's another form of that word? If you're not sure, then try another one. Lead.
Yeah.
It's a verb.
Leading.
There you go. You could turn it into leading a gerund. So you could turn it into, and don't forget the three ugly sisters. You can turn verbs into adjectives, adverbs, or nouns, right? All right, so good. So you could turn it into a noun using leading, perhaps, or a participle, an adjective, right?
Leadable.
All right, what else? Okay. And what form is this right here?
No.
It is a verb. It's being used as a gerund. Yeah, or not a gerund, I'm sorry. Infinitive.
Yes.
Yeah, but it is a verb form. But it's being used to interpret each person. It's being used as a noun there. The infinitive is a verbal, but it's actually acting like the object in the sentence, isn't it? To interpret the situation as less serious than he would if alone. Any other words that you could change the form easily? Yeah. What word form is this? As less serious. What's this part of? Yeah, listen, I'm looking at this. What is this? As, right. What is as? It's a preposition, so that means it's got to have an object.
Oh, no.
As less.
No.
Yeah. So this is actually a noun right here. What would be a different form?
Seriously?
Seriously? Yeah. So you could easily change it to what form is that?
An adverb.
Yeah. You could change it to an adverb pretty easy by adding ly. Okay. So that's nice. Synonyms. Now this is pretty easy. Not easy, but can you think of different ways to say the same word?
Present.
Presence.
No, present.
So what would you say? How would you change that word? What's another word for presence? The presence.
The meaning is the same, the present. Yes, right.
The place, you mean? Or
Present.
present?
Yeah.
Oh, no. I'm talking, I've jumped down here to synonyms.
Yeah.
So you have presence, and what do you want to change it to?
Present.
Nowadays?
I'm not talking about word form anymore.
Okay.
What's another word that means the same thing?
Nowadays?
What's that?
Nowadays?
Reaction.
Present.
The presence of other people. You could just take it, that's a different word, but it actually works if you're going to rewrite the sentence.
Appearance. What that is mean?
He wants to use reaction.
Instead of other people, you can say others.
Person.
Other people, what do you want to say?
Others.
You could totally get rid of this and put an S on this, right? And just use the pronoun. You could do that. That's one idea. What's another word for people?
Person.
That's the singular form of the word, right?
Human.
Person. Humans. It's kind of funny sounding, but you could say humans, individuals,
Instead of person, we can say
subjects. Yeah, that's good. I like that. Subjects. Okay. Here's one that you could find another word for: situation.
Circumstance.
There you go. The circumstance.
Occasion, problem,
Event.
Good.
occasion.
Event. I don't know. What is someone else said something else?
Occasion.
Occasion. Good. Good. Here's another one, serious. You could probably think of some synonyms.
Hazardous.
Prejudice.
Effective.
Serious.
Hazardous.
Less serious.
Effective.
Dangerous.
Dangerous. I like dangerous. That seems to... Depends on how you... well, it's used as a noun here.
Dangerous.
Dangerous.
It's less...
Dangerous.
Dangerous.
Serious is
Not
object.
dangerous. Now. Danger.
Less. The
seriousness.
situation less serious. So the serious is an adjective. Less danger.
Let's, yeah, you know what?
Situation is the noun.
Danger.
Yeah,
Should be less danger.
serious situation.
Yeah, you're right. So this is a prepositional
Adjective.
as less serious. What is this right here? It's a prepositional phrase being used as an adverb. So the whole thing's kind of being used as an adverb. Because this is an adverb, right?
Because I can say less effective.
You could. I'm going to agree with you on this one. I was looking at this like a prepositional phrase, and this was the object. The problem is, I think if you look this up, serious cannot be a noun. I don't think it can. Are you serious? Somebody look that up. If you're talking about your attitude, maybe. It just depends on how. Can you look that up real quick? Look up the word serious and see if it can be used as a noun. Are you serious?
Positive.
Teacher is serious.
Yeah, but you know the attitude of being serious?
Yeah,
Adjective.
adjective.
And
Something serious.
He's a serious man.
no, serious adjective, seriousness.
He's showing, yeah, of course, for sure if you add an NES.
The same thing now. Adjective, and noun.
Yeah, I mean, so it's an adjective for sure. I guess my question is can it be used as a noun spelled like this? If I'm talking about the attitude of seriousness?
Put an example.
Serious.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
You have to.
It's always an adjective? It's never a noun? Do you see?
There is noun.
There is serious. That which is of importance. Grave, critical, and somber. Yeah, see, it can be. So when it's talking about something super critical or important, it can be used as a noun. So that's tricky business right there. So this really is a prepositional phrase, and it's talking about a grave situation. Of course, you can add an NESS, and it can become a noun in another way. Or it can be an adjective, and it's normally used as an adjective to describe someone's attitude, right?
Or you can say as unserious.
Last.
Unserious is the opposite.
Less serious.
Less serious.
Yeah, it is less serious, so I can say unserious instead of.
So you're saying if I look at these together, I could say unserious. You could say unserious.
But it's
That's
just
off. You don't need.
It's just
Yeah. You'd have to say an unserious situation. But that doesn't sound
Unserious.
good. A less serious situation. Anyway. Yeah, we don't really say unserious. Then he would be alone. How about another word for alone?
long.
Lonely.
Lonely.
Good. Lonely.
If
Now, let me ask you a question. The original sentence, if you can still read it, which one of these is it?
First one is 7.
Compound.
Compound.
Then he, less serious than he would if alone. Is it compound?
Complex.
Okay, where's the main clause? Where's the subject?
The person.
Present of.
So here's my subject. The presence of others or other people.
Lead.
Listen, this is all, okay, this is just describing the presence of other people, so that's all part of the subject, okay? And then the verb, we already know that's a verb. This is a modal. May lead what? Each person.
Object.
This is your indirect object. That's the who, right? Your indirect object. To interpret the situation as less serious. So this is actually being used as your direct object, right? To interpret. To interpret the situation. This whole thing is like a direct object. It's an infinitive acting like a noun and describing your interpretation. And then they just tag on a prepositional phrase. Then he would. This is weird. So it ends right here. Serious. Then he would. And then what do they throw on the end?
I don't know.
If alone. They actually tag a condition on the end. This is a really wacky sentence. But I think what you have here is a compound complex. Because they have they start a whole other sentence, and then they throw this conditional on the end right here. Here's another subject, verb, and then they put a conditional on it. Whew! That's pretty wild stuff. Anyway, how can we restate this? So pick a different format and just say it another way. And then use some of these different things. Everybody take 5 minutes. See if you can write a nice paraphrase of this sentence.
Which one? Which is the which?
So, hey, listen, if all that stuff up there is confusing you to death, just take a look at the book, okay? The original text is right here in the gray box. Try to write, just down here even, in the blank, try to write your own paraphrase of that sentence. And then, listen, they give a couple examples. After you get done, we'll look at the examples.